Welcome to Ask GCN Anything.
Coming up this week, we answer your questions on asthma, burning calves, and white shoes.
Ooh, it's a packed out show this week, isn't it?
That's a good one.
If you'd like to be involved on next week's show, then to use the hashtag Torqueback in the comment section below. And if you've got any really good training questions, then to use the hashtag AskGCNTraining, and you'll also be in with a chance of winning 3 months free subscription from Zwift. First question comes in from Raving Munster. Chris has mentioned a couple of times that he has asthma. Can you give some tips on managing asthma during sport? If it's not been a barrier to becoming a pro cyclist, I'm guessing you have your asthma management just dialed.
You hope so,
Do you? Because I don't have asthma, so I am not the person to answer this question.
Right, I'm going to snatch the laptop from you and read out the answer, which I spent quite a long time writing out, actually, because there's a lot of information that I think will be really useful to you. So, basically, it is a very personal issue. Certain catalysts that affect me won't affect your son and his asthma. The treatment that I've had is by no means a one-size-fits-all plan. And at times, it's definitely held back my cycling. I think I mentioned in my Meet the Presenter video that in June and July, I felt like a useless cyclist. And that's because I really struggled to breathe, because the hay fever allergies that I also have really triggered my asthma and made it a really tough time. And to this day, there are definitely still aspects of my asthma that I wish I could have controlled better, such as that hay fever period. And I'm not an expert on this subject, but I've got lots of experience, so here goes. There are some guidelines which I think apply to everyone that suffers with asthma, and I think that we can all benefit from learning from. So, gain an understanding of when your asthma is triggered. Are there certain pollutants in the air? Are there certain odours? Certain spores, like mold or anything like that? And are you allergic to certain types of food or certain food groups? And then don't be afraid to visit your family GP or doctor as frequently as possible, basically, because you need to get on top of what it is that's going to control your asthma. Persistence really pays off with this, and you need to work with them to find the correct medication. It's not going to happen in just one visit. Like, this could take a period of months or even years. Anything you think works for you personally does definitely work. For years, for example, I used to refuse to wear a heart rate strap because I felt that it kind of constricted my breathing a little bit. And it definitely helped. Whether or not it actually helped, if it helps between your ears, then it is going to give you a boost out on the road. Next up, it's an evolving issue, and no 2 seasons will ever be the same. So from year to year, or from spring to summer to autumn to winter, it will always be different. Your asthma is constantly changing as the environment changes around it. And that requires work to stay on top of it. You have to take potentially different medications at certain times of the year, for example. Some people will be affected more in cold air than they are in warm air. And vice versa, of course. You are more susceptible to respiratory tract infections when you have asthma. So things like chest infections, for example, bronchitis, that sort of thing. You're more likely to get those than the average person. That doesn't necessarily hold you back. I mean, personally, it did wipe out most of one season, as I had one after the other after another. But that's not always the case for everyone. The best way to actually monitor your asthma is like your training. So keep daily notes. What happened at the time you felt like you had tightness or difficulty breathing? What did you eat in the hours before that? What were the environmental conditions around that day as well? So things like pollen count and that sort of thing. You really just need to have a lot of mindfulness about it when you come to thinking about how you're managing your asthma. None of the above, or none of what I've just previously mentioned, makes it impossible to be a top level cyclist. And just because you have asthma, it doesn't mean that you need to use an asthma drug that requires a TUE. In fact, there was only one time I ever had to have a TUE, and that was before Ventolin became a non-therapeutic use exemption drug. So it's quite a low level drug.
Explain what a TUE is.
Therapeutic use exemption is what someone might need to use in an extreme case when they need to take a drug which is actually banned in competition, but for whatever health reasons they're then exempt from that drug.
It's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because it's not something you can see. It's not something you riding next to me. I'm not going to know what's going on with your breathing. Really, I can't really hear much.
No.
But do you feel like you are at a disadvantage?
Well, at certain times you definitely are, because you can feel like someone sat on your chest, basically. You'll feel like your legs are burning. That's because your muscles aren't getting enough oxygen to them. You'll go red in the face. You look visibly different when you're suffering from asthma. And at times you almost become numb to the fact that your breathing isn't as good as it should be. So that's why it's really important to keep those notes and keep a track of how your breathing actually is. I've always used an online diary, and the other day I typed in breathing and breath and asthma into the diary, and it came up with tens and tens and tens of results where I've commented on how my breathing was.
And there are loads of World Tour absolute, riders that are hitting the top levels who do suffer with asthma. So don't feel disheartened. Get on top of it, like Chris says. And yeah, you can go as far as you want with cycling.
Yeah, there are a few misconceptions when it comes to asthma drugs. And I want to point this out because it's actually really, really important to make it clear that no asthma drug will ever take you up past 100% of your airways capability. So you're not cheating by taking your inhaler. So don't try and shy away from that. All it's doing is getting your body back to where it should be.
Okay, interesting.
I hope that helps.
Yeah, I hope that helps. And yeah, thanks for answering that, Chris. And the winner of this week's 3 months free subscription from our mates over at Zwift is who, Chris?
Gogs.
Sorry, but you have to say that again.
Gogs.
Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
My recovery after short efforts, RPE of 9 out of 10 for up to 5 minutes, is lousy. I seem to need loads of time and I can't hit the intervals normally prescribed in my sessions. How do I improve my ability to get back and hit the power numbers? And what kind of sessions should I use in my training?
Well, great question. And as always, we send it off to Zwift and they come back with this answer. And to be honest, it's such a good question and it's really common among loads of cyclists.
Yeah, it is. You're not alone at all. So what you're experiencing is lactate accumulation and the subsequent lactate clearance rates. When we perform efforts above lactate threshold, we accumulate lactate.
Yeah, and to be honest, you are riding in a perceived effort of around 9 and 10, which is going above and beyond your lactate threshold.
Yeah, and because of that, this is actually where judging an athlete's ability by their power duration curve is irrelevant. It doesn't really show what the athlete is capable of repeating on their next high intensity efforts. We've just been going through it a little bit, haven't we? So the first thing to look at is your recovery interval. After a very intense interval, our instinct is actually completely to sit up and pedal really gently, or do what I did today and sit in the ditch for a while.
Which isn't actually optimal. And I find this really interesting, how the actual optimal ability to kind of flush the lactate through is riding at around 65% of your FTP, which sounds completely bonkers, but it makes total sense.
Well, it does, yeah. And I've had that kind of sneaky suspicion for a little while because I would generally pull over to the side of the road and freewheel or do whatever.
Well, I saw that today, didn't you? You did
today.
A massive effort and then, well, you were in the ditch.
But I've often thought when I've done big efforts in races and then when you've been forced to continue pedaling, that I actually recovered faster.
Yeah.
So that is the science behind it. Luckily, the people at Zwift have clarified that.
And it's looking to do a duration of around 3 to 4 minutes at that 65% after your effort.
And then you can turn around. So imagine you were doing reps of 5 times 5 minute intervals. You do your max 5 minute effort, and then you continue at that 65% of FTP a little bit further up the climb, for example, before you then turn around. Whereas normally what you might have done is just turned around straight away in the hill. That's what I would have done in the past.
Yeah,
anyway.
Which makes perfect sense when you're doing,
and
it actually works perfectly on a climb. So you can do your effort going up half the climb, and you continue just riding the climb at that 65% without actually having to really press on the pedals just to get up the climb, and then you can turn around once you've got that little bit further up the climb.
So the answer to your question is to improve your numbers on the subsequent intervals, continue for 3 to 4 minutes at 65% of threshold before turning around and repeating the next intervals, because basically you're doing each interval with a higher level of lactate in your blood.
There you have it. There you have it. I've learned something. I hope you've learned something too. If you did, then let us know in the comment section below. Right, next question's from, I'm gonna try my absolute best to pronounce this.
It's William.
William Kujanapa.
Oh, the
Kujanapa.
Pa? I don't know.
Well, you guys can have a go at home. Hey guys, I was wondering if you could tell me why this spring I have a problem with my calves burning when I ride now. The two things I've changed since the fall now I ride clipped in, and I changed my tyres to 28s with more tread. Which change do you think has caused this overworking of the calves? Any suggestions?
Well, the fact that you say overworking implies that you already know what's going on. And it's probably because you've set the pedal axle up a little bit too far towards your toes on your shoe, which means your calf muscle is having to overwork to stabilize the foot. As when we pedal, really, you don't want the calf doesn't contribute a huge amount to the pedal stroke. No. And despite you sometimes seeing riders with big calves, what you want to aim for is quite a neutral position for the calf. It's a muscle that will tire and cramp quite quickly.
Yeah, so try that really.
Yeah, and then otherwise it could be that your saddle height's maybe that little bit too low, so your foot's trying to take up the, trying to create space for your legs to move and dropping your heel, too far.
Two good points that are worth trying to change, and you might feel a little bit of release on your calves.
Right, next up is Rampage Eve. Why all road shoes of the Pro Peloton are white in colour?
Great question. And it's just because I think they look better. Don't you?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Fresh white socks, fresh white shoes is just bling.
Fresh white socks are only fresh once though.
Well, that's true, but then you have
fresh
to have
black socks are always fresh. But anyway, there's a picture on screen right now which shows that that's not necessarily true if you look at all those colours.
Yeah, I still think white on white on white.
White on white on white.
Yeah.
Martin Maynon, did my second FTP test today on the road. I feel there was more in the tank, even did a decent ride afterwards. But I seem to struggle mentally to complete the 20 minutes and go deep all the way. Any tips for mentally succeeding in a 20-minute FTP test?
Right, I would say practice really does make perfect. So just keep on riding those efforts and they will get easier and you will get more used to the time and how to sustain that effort for the 20 minutes. But I also would say something that really helped me with my 20-minute effort is that I did an effort of a little less intensity, but I did it for half an hour or 45 minutes. Because then you're going a little longer than that 20 minutes. That 20 minutes does feel that shorter and it's a bit easier on the head mentally.
Yeah, that's a good point. It could also be a sign that you're not including enough intensity in your training potentially. You're finding it hard to access those deeper power numbers. But don't be afraid of your 20-minute test. Like, it's not the be-all and end-all and it's not the only marker of your fitness.
It's not at
so
all.
Don't build up into something it's not. Feel free to go really hard at the start. If you blow halfway through, it's not the end of the world. You can always do it another week.
Yeah, and you know where you are, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Next question from Duty Paid Rock. I'm finally off the trainer and training outside on a bike I bought last winter and thus haven't ridden outside much. During some sprint intervals, I noticed when I get out of the saddle and go as hard as I can, the back wheel spins out and the back end of the bike is like a bucking bronco. I tried moving my weight further back over the back wheel for traction, but I feel like I can get the power out effectively. And even then, the back end was still like an old 9 level on an ice rink, or like that. Is the gear I'm setting off on too high to begin with? Any tips on keeping that rubber on the tarmac?
Well, that's a good question.
It is a great worded question as well. I did like that.
Yeah. References there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be that you're slightly overgeared, but I doubt it's just that because it's probably more likely to do your position and your weight balance over the bike. Are you leaning too far forwards and are you trying to pull up too much on the pedals? If you're trying to pull up too much on the pedals, then try and focus on the downstroke. Perhaps don't overextend your leg whilst you're trying to sprint. And then finally, I think the most important thing when it comes to sprinting is actually form over function. So instead of just thrashing around on the bike, hoping for the best power numbers wise, focus on having a really neat, tidy sprint. So you really focus on where your arms are, where your elbows are. We all want, and I'm guilty of this, and I'm sure everyone is at some point, trying to make a really big number appear on your computer screen.
You tried to do it today, mate.
I did try, I do most days. But that is not the be-all and end-all, and actually a faster sprint will almost always be a cleaner, neater, tidier sprint. So focus on your form when you're doing a sprint, and then the power and the speed will come naturally after that. Like
engaging core and stuff like that. Like a good solid frame will really help.
Yeah.
But then again, my wheel doesn't go like a bucking bronco, but I don't know if that's
maybe it's your weight balance.
I'm not putting enough power out.
During the sprint, you want to stand up on the pedals and really explode down through your core muscles into the bike, moving the bike side to side with your legs and arms in a continual smooth motion. It is a complete maximal effort, so really push down hard on the pedals and pull back up through the bottom of the pedal stroke.
Oh, that's another one.
That was a great answer though, Chris, I have to say. You did well this week. Yeah, you really did.
Oh, thank you, James.
If you want to get involved on next week's show, then what do you do, Chris?
Use the hashtag TalkBack for all your cycling questions and to be in with the chance of winning a free 3-month subscription to Zwift, use the hashtag Ask GCN Training.
Yeah, don't forget, if you did enjoy this video and it really helped you, then to give it a big thumbs up. And if you're in the mood for watching more GCN videos, then why don't you check out that one over there, which is the Descending Like a Pro video that Chris and I did, and I think we really enjoyed doing it, didn't we?
We did, and if you enjoyed Descents, why not check out the t-shirt, the limited edition Cyclist, I call it the Descent t-shirt, shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com.
Did you get the PB for going down that?
I got a personal record.
Absolute nutter.